Hi, and welcome to Call 8. If you're joining us, this is an open call 8 for EVO Labs. And it's the 20th of May 2025. Hi, Alex. Great to have you here. Okay, so we'll just wait for a little while before we get going, just to check everything's working. Can you hear us out there in YouTube land? Overwound Games, Misunderstood, Artifact Charlotte. Alex is also in YouTube land. He's got 2 instances running. Wayne Gwinnell, EBB, is also in YouTube land. Okay, and Zalipino. Gary. Okay, great, they can hear us there. Thank you very much for the confirmation. Artifact, are you joining us on the stream? Did you want to say something about your... Tony's also on the stream. There's actually only 7 of us and with 40 instances. Okay. So it is May. We are getting into full summer here, although you wouldn't know it here in the Czech Republic. It's been almost towards freezing at night. I don't know where it is in your part of the world, but I know it's going to be quite cold in Japan. So interesting weather. Maybe all that effort of the UK to cool the planet is working. Could you report on that, Charles? Charles and Holmes, have they been throwing a lot of that sulfur dioxide into the high stratosphere? And how's that going over there?
Yeah, well, I mean, in London, it's definitely cool.
It's definitely cool. So it's working. So all the solar power will be down, all the wind power might be a little bit up,
absolutely,
but the food crops will fail.
Growing, you know, it's gonna be great.
Yeah, I mean, it's epically low growth rates on my food. I think what it is, they're trying to cover for a natural event that they already knew about. So we've got a few more starts. Excellent. Artifact is joining us in the room. If anyone is out there in YouTube land and has Zoom and wants to join us on the call to ask face-to-face questions, you can go to RemoteView.ICU, top link, and there is a button in there to join the stream. I will try and vet those people that are coming through into the waiting room so that we don't get interruptions, as we've had a couple of times in the past. As delightful as they were.
Just for Keir Starmer.
That's his thing, is it?
Apparently so. Allegedly.
Yes.
Okay.
Certainly, without any implication whatsoever.
Right. So, without further ado, I think this is a good quorum. And if you would like to start, Charles, go right into it.
Yep, absolutely, Bob. Thank you very much. Excellent introduction. Apologies this is happening so late in the month. The reason this was cancelled is I went to the garden party. I did not meet the king, but I saw him and the top of his head basically moving around amongst some beef eaters the whole time. So, you know, it was a wonderful day out, and the sandwiches were the best sandwiches I've ever had in my entire life. So just on that experience alone, you know, it was wonderful to do. So I apologize how late this is in the month. So we're going to go over everything that we've been doing over the last 6 weeks or so. It has been a bit of a roller coaster, so we have quite a few videos, but the wonderful thing is we've got a lot of the team members here who may even be able to throw some further insight towards the community if anybody asks questions, or if we can entice them to get involved. Okay, so we'll be going through our development update first. So our workflows had a little bit of a pause. The reason why they're only 10% done is we needed the Soulbound token done first, really. The Soulbound token, as you can see at the bottom, that has nearly been completed. Our audit will be complete by the end of this month. So we're hoping by the end of this month, our token will be launched, and we'll be able to use this as a reference contract for any other Soulbound token. So we are far ahead than where we were last month on last month's call. Almost done, in fact. The Web3 auth login functionality needs a little bit more polishing and some testing.
Recording in progress.
Sorry, Bob. Yep, cool. Admin portal and permissions. We need some more management tools, but they're taking shape. They're nearly about halfway done. The front end interface needs more polish and the features enabled. We'll be focusing on that in the next few weeks. The proposals, you will see what's happening with that, and we're cooking with charcoal with that, to use a Terry Pratchett phrase. And yeah, the snapshot integration will be brought forward to this week. I'm having a meeting, gosh, tomorrow, I believe, at 11 o'clock. And that meeting will be about how to sculpt our on-chain snapshot voting and how to get that done so that we can bring that in for our developers so they don't even need to worry about that. So the red box is what we've been focusing on this month. So it's basically the user dashboard and the admin dashboard. We've needed everything just to ensure everything can be properly and securely controlled with that throughout the protocol, and that the users, any users can interact with any features really nicely and easily in one spot. So we've been focusing on that quite heavily. So the first video that we have, and this presentation is quite video heavy. This is an overview of our login procedure with Google working. It's got password, wallet address, magic link, email sign-in options. The modal that you've just seen will be tidied up in the future. This profile page here is the user profile page. So what you'll see on there is swap features, all the other wonderful stuff. In fact, I'll just take that back a second. Yeah, so yeah, in here you'll be able to do swapping, connect to applications, fiat on-ramps, so if you just want to use dollars or things like that, and you'll be able to see your wallet balance. And the wallet address there that you see on screen, that will be your wallet address that is automatically generated when using the platform. This is the proposal page. This is the first iteration of the proposal page, so it will not look like this in the final edition. But these are the sample proposals that we've been putting through the back end, so that users, when they're a member, can go in and fill these proposals out. Everything's still in development currently with that. Ooh. Right, okay. If I do that, will that just play? That does just play. Fantastic. So this is our back-end proposal system for the administrators. So with this, we can create dynamic proposals within the admin console. All fields, questions, any answering fields, grading metrics are all manipulable by the administrator through the console. A user can then select a pre-written template and utilize that. This will be more dynamic in the future, but this is the simplest way that we can launch this with MVP, with all the considerations that Toon has put into what the proposal form should actually look like. He's done a heck of a lot of work with that. But yeah, everything's dynamic on the form, so everything as requested. Brilliant. This should have audio. Tell me if you can hear the audio.
So for the last couple of weeks, I've been doing this Soulbound token contract. It's a simple contract, but it is a masterpiece of a Soulbound token contract. It's got whitelist and blacklist functionality, 1 token per address, no transferring or approving. We have 4 roles in the system. There's the owner, who I recommend you guys have as a multi-sig, and then each signer for that should be like a Trezor or a Ledger or something, probably a Trezor. And then the owner can set the base URI, which I'd probably recommend being of
So
service
what we've got
for your
here
website on that.
is this is our
And
smart
then
contract developer
the
describing the contract that he's built. This is a 4-minute video, so what I'm going to do is skip ahead and then give it to Bob at the end, so Bob can host it via a short or anything like that. So if anyone would like to see what's going on, I'm just going to skip to the end where he says some pretty cool stuff.
Sign, and then that is the contract itself. The errors be well documented as I can make it in the roles, and then everything's as well documented as I can make it, just to make it as easy as possible for ciphering or whoever's auditing to go through and check that everything is what it's supposed to be doing. Any questions?
That looks absolutely amazing. Well, so the conclusion of that is our man, contract level, who wrote these contracts in 1 month, put enough testing in to the contracts that when I showed it to an auditor, they were blown away and said it was one of the best contracts they'd ever seen. I went to an elite auditor in the crypto space, Cyphering. I've known these guys since they started up. They're a magnificent company. So the guy that we found has knocked it out the park, basically, and enabled us to do everything within 1 month. And that's made sure that all the other development work, it will be on time and we can test everything properly. Our proposals and everything like that, our whole workflow can be properly tested. And this is all down to contract level, this wonderful chap that we found. Okay. How do we use these contracts? So on the back end, for the admins, we are going to use the reference contract that contract level built. Our subsequent contracts will reference this original contract, and we won't really deviate from it at all, so that once we know that something's been audited, we can then, take a section out of that, take a section out of that, and as long as it's exactly the same, we know that it's going to be absolutely fine. We will have Soulbound tokens, which are automatically awarded to users for certain tasks, tiered Soulbound tokens for community interactions and donations. We will award Soulbound tokens for expertise in various fields, as well as give them to denote status within the DAO, such as project lead or admin, something like that. From our admin panel, we'll be able to control each Soulbound token's whitelist, its blacklist, its fee structure, and we will be able to mint to users' wallets if needed and in batches, so that we can do 100 people at the same time, 1,000 people, 10 people, 1 people, 3 people, whatever we need. The contract, as contract level was alluding to, will be owned by the DAO and the DAO multi-signature signers to make it as secure as we possibly can make it with absolutely decentralized security. Okay, so this is Nestor just going over now. He's adding somebody to the whitelist, so just looking at all the wonderful functionality that he's built in there. And he can do exactly the same with the blacklist as well. Although we need to do some testing on validating Ethereum addresses, I believe. That would be interesting to do. Anyway, that'll be for tomorrow. Okay, media. We have a new team member. Kat from the USA has jumped on board. So Kat and Felix and Chris are doing the next video planning session tomorrow, the 21st. And everything seems to be moving forward. Everyone's been a little bit busy, which is unsurprising given the wonderful weather that various people have had around Europe and whatever. So yeah, things have been on hold for some people, but the other people have been moving forward dramatically. So we are still looking for people to help with social media and short form content. I know Alex, you've mentioned this before, so we'll try and bring you on to the next planning session. But yeah, if anybody would like to jump on board to help with social media, that's something that we will be looking at in the next month or so. And yeah, that'd be interesting. Okay, so we have some project updates. For those people in projects who are in the Zoom call, please feel free to interject at any point and interrupt me with any pertinent information. Okay, so Bob has already reported a little bit on this in the post just advertising this call. So Henk may be producing some excess heat with his Vega reactor. So I've got only 2 videos because I learned from last time, Bob, keep the videos short. So yeah, we'll make sure that there's about 4 minutes of work here. So I think you should be able to hear this one as well.
So these are the measurements this morning. I think it's enough for now. And I will show you what I've done in the meantime. And the next test will be with a heating element, but this is what it is for now. The plasma turned into red again, and when I shut it down, you will see that the anode of the cathode is red hot. This is, at least that was the last time I shut it down. This is red hot. And The temperature where I was measuring it all the time is now 23.9. Still is going up. Here the temperature is going up as well. And what I did is measuring the current over a resistor. This is reading 1.56 volts. That would be, there's the resistor down there, that gold one, or 1 ohm. That should be 15 milliamps, 150 milliamps. And I'm reading here more. So there is, I have to find out what's true. That will be later. This is 500 volts still, so it's somewhere about 100, how much? 120, 200 watts or something. I will calculate it later. But this is what it is. So this is the temperature measurements. I insulated the tank on the top. I have to insulate the tank lower, maybe, but I will calculate it based on the graph. That's for now. Later. Okay, here is the result of the measurements of today. I made a graph of it. There is, well, one clear anomaly on the beginning, but I just calculated with the beginning and the end. Beginning is very clear, the starting temperature of the whole system. The end temperature is in effect also clear, and especially because the last 3 points are in a straight line. Then the calculation is here, is 90 liters of water, and the whole system has more mass, so the results are in effect better. Times 4,200 joules per kilogram, that's hence 90 liters, times the temperature change of 7.6 degrees over the period of 3 hours. 3 hours times 36 minutes. So when you divide this part of the equation by the seconds, you end up with 266 watts. When I take the DC amp meter of say 250 milliamps, it's 125 watts. 266 divided by 125 is a COP of 2.1. When I take the other digital meter reading of 150 milliamps times 575 watt, then the COP will go up to 3.5. It can't be true, these two figures going that far off. So my conclusion is I really need a resistive heating reference. Tomorrow I will do that one. Today I'm going to a party. Right? See you next time.
Wonderful. I love it.
I love his video updates. They're absolutely magnificent. So, like, Henk, when you're watching this, thank you very much for keep sending them. Though we absolutely adore them. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing his further tests and seeing how this.
Yeah, can I jump in there?
Yeah.
So I don't know if people can hear me. They said my volume was a bit quiet, but whatever. This is what I can do right now. So Henk said that looking at his experiment, there was a couple of things that needed to be considered, like having a stirrer in there. He has considered that. Obviously, he's insulated it. You didn't see the versions where he didn't insulate it. He needs an accumulating power meter rather than looking at an instantaneous power going into the system. And also, he's looking at installing the LabJack controller, so he can do control runs and monitor the power over time, and that'll be feeding into what is being done by Artifact, which you're going to report on shortly. He has a tungsten anode, and we all know from this research that tungsten appears to be a fuel. It's in Orion Energy's heat or power producing patent, but we've known that tungsten has been doing some funny things for many years. And he has, obviously you see that box cathode that he has, and this was identified by Matsumoto as a very useful material for these processes because it doesn't absorb hydrogen. It just clusters in cracks on the surface, and according to in Matsumoto's theory, it would lead to formation of these hydrogen clusters that do the work, because it's the negative plate protons, atomic hydrogen that are in there. The protons will migrate to there being positive and cluster because it can't go into the metal. And you can see that in his book. So I think he's doing a lot right here. Later in the year, we will be doing a experiment in the Alchemy of Prague, where we will be showing the tungsten potentially transmuting in real-time experiments that you can witness. And just to follow on from that, I want to say that Henk's work over the last couple of years has been so inspirational that Jan Rack, I believe, turned on his version of the Vega reactor yesterday. We'll be sharing pictures of that in the coming days, but essentially they built an analog which is going to be controllable, but they built a whole vacuum system, and they're building right now, I think yesterday or the day before, or on the weekend, they were building the same kind of anode arrays that Henk has done. And one of the first priorities is to try and do a third-party replication of the Vega Valley. So a big clap to Henk for being the inspiration behind a very major replication of his work, which in turn is an advancement on work that was done publicly by Orion Energy, formerly called the Sapphire Project. So that's what I wanted to say on the excellent work that Henk is doing.
Yep, I echo those sentiments. Henk is doing some proper work. It's really, really cool stuff. His shed is the best man shed any man has ever seen, ever. It's so much fun. Oh,
So
right. Okay, so Paul, would you like to explain what you're doing? I have some brief notes that you've sent over. Would you like the floor for a moment, sir?
Yeah, sure. Well, I've actually been trying very hard indeed to live up to the expectations that Ken Pratt laid out for this 4-cylinder rotating aluminium electrolyzer. And I'm glad to say that I've really finished all the major systems. I've got the digital systems, the mechanical and the electrical systems, and the hydrodynamic systems all laid out and 3D printed or manufactured. And it's now a question of just integrating the whole thing. A couple of software issues with the Arduinos. I think the only thing that's left for me to do now, Ken, for your information, is the sensors. I'm going for sort of temperature, pH, hydrogen, those kind of things. But it's fairly flexible and depends entirely on what I can do cheaply for a desktop set of sensors. So I'll be looking around to see what the best is that I can do. On the front of diamagnetism, which I've been very interested in, I haven't heard anything from the prof, Pavel. Unfortunately, I got the feeling that he would probably prefer not to give away his patented stuff to the project. My guess is that there is a deal to be done, but I'm rather hopeful to outflank him because I've been working rather hard to make my own meter. And I've been working on the on an interesting setup of a U-tube with a water meniscus and the altimeter or variometer from a sailplane, which is super sensitive. And so as the magnet shifts the water level ever so slightly as it comes down, it registers to 3 decimal places on the variometer. And this, of course, is what we want, but I've yet to finish calibrating it. And I've had plenty to do with the Pratt electrolyzer. So that's all coming on. In addition, we've picked up some work for Toon. Alison, my wife, and I are both quite used to editing documents. she particularly has been used to it in her life in big business. And we've taken the permission from Toon to edit and check the grammar and syntax on some of his excellent work on the documents for the project application. And I'm glad to say we've managed to get the first document past him with only 2 or 3 complaints and no threats of fisticuffs so far. He's swallowed my alterations like a lamb with only a couple of small complaints. So I think we're going to get somewhere with those. We've done the first of the documents and the rest will be following now. He seems to have got the hang of what we're doing. And we should hope to have a really nice, easy to read and rather grammatically beautiful, we hope, set of applications. That'll be in the next 2 or 3 weeks.
That would be wonderful. That would be wonderful. I know they're a little bit of a slog going through the proposals anyway, so any way of making them slightly less overbearing, that would be wonderful. So well done on that. That's brilliant.
My other half is very, very good at exactly that, and I like my English grammar, so between the 2 of us, we should be okay.
Oh, blimey. Thank you both then. That's wonderful news.
Food has been very, very helpful as well.
He is an incredibly helpful young man. Yeah. That's wonderful. That's great to hear. I didn't know that was going on. So that's magnificent news for me. So great. Thank you very much. Awesome. Right. Windhexe. We have Tony Giavoni in the house. Tony, would you like to say anything, sir, or would you just like me to go off some notes that I have?
Yeah, go off some notes. That would be all right.
Fantastic, sir. No problem at all. So Tony has a new space, and it is here. As soon as he gets everything installed, up and running, he wants to reserve half a day a week to move forward with the Windhexe. The main goal of the Windhexe right now is to get better fine-tuning mechanism assembled, hook it up with more airflow, and inject steam, lots of steam, into a running Windhexe to test. According to Bob and the documentation, it will be critical to have steam doing its magic to witness the disassembly of covalent bonds in materials. So yes, fingers crossed we can all help with that, and it'll be wonderful to see Tony doing some magnificent work in his shed. Big man shed. Yes. Awesome man shed.
Yeah, thanks, Bob. Thanks, Charles. Yeah, I've been a bit on the sideline lately. Busy with lots of different things, but the Windhexe has been staring at me from the corner of my shed, just nagging at me like, when you're going to work at me again. But yeah, lots of things moving forward right now, and yeah, we'll be working some more time overtime on the Windhexe pretty soon. So updates will be coming, and I also look forward to doing an application on the EVO Labs platform of this project. It's not. It's already out of the starting blocks, but it's nice to have like the entire documentation complete, and yeah, maybe we'll hit a home run pretty soon on this project. It would be nice, actually.
Wonderful.
That'd be awesome.
Thanks.
Yeah, Tony, thank you very much. That's absolutely brilliant. I have a little bit more that Tony sent over. Tony would like to entice fellow members of the MFMP and the DAO and prospective DAO members to start thinking about 3D printing cloud-off cavitators.
Can I jump in there, because I already have a
Yes,
person in Australia that really wants to do that. They have very big industrial production facilities, and they're just chomping at the bit. This was actually last year, so I think we should really start doing iterations of that. Everything is lining up with aluminium being a major fuel in these things. And the fact that was able to kick out a COP of well over 10, I think well over 11, using a little bit of added aluminosilicate, this really needs to be one to move forward on. We know that cavitation does produce excess heat, and it does produce transmutation. More data you're going to see with even more analysis techniques done by professional bodies in Taiwan will be published at ICCF 26 next week, so look out for Binder and Huang's presentation on that. I will report on that, but it's definitely doing the job. There is a method by which cavitation actually it just works, and this kind of system by Kladoff, we now have a reasonably deep understanding of how he found this cavitation destruction of matter and how it reforms into new matter So this is it's just an opportunity. So other than this chap in Australia, do not rely on that as being a hope. If you have manufacturing facilities and you want to try variations of this, then please put your name forward. No one is going to give us this technology for free. We have to do this for ourselves. And Tony, I'm fair, I think, in saying that with people willing to do variations on that, Tony, you would be willing to provide drawings. Can I get you on the record as saying yes to that?
Well, I did the configurator.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's pretty easy to come up with your own design. I think Paul Stevenson also tried one himself.
Yes, I've actually printed the first part of it, and with some success, but I'm afraid that I had a lot of other stuff to do, so it went to the back of the queue. But the hardest bit, the actual guts of the cavitator and the bearings, were quite easily printed. I've now got a better material as well, so it may be worth revisiting it because the material is vital. My feeling, though, is exactly like Bob. I'd like to see it machined in aluminium.
Yeah, machined or DLMNS, direct laser metal sintering, might be a way to go in this instance, so that you can take variations and get precise, fully fused metal in the kind of complexities that needed without necessarily having so many parts being made. So we shall see. But machining, obviously, for mass manufacturer, CNC, that's kind of how you've designed it. Am I right in saying, Tony, that it's been designed for manufacture as CNC?
So the 3D configurator I programmed is applicable for all production methods you can imagine. So you can use it for even 3D printing, CNC. It produces step files, solids, and even 3D meshes like STL files. So you can you can get any configuration good to go for production from the 3D configurator. My largest hope for the 3D configurator is that people just start tinkering around with it at home, start 3D printing and start trying out different setups and different amounts of stages and stuff like that. And I think from that we'll already can learn a lot in a decentralized manner, so that if people start prototyping at home and 3D printing at home, I think we can just start out doing some prototypes like that. And as soon as there are possibilities for actual 3D laser sintering of metals, or even die casting parts, or aluminium CNC or stuff like that, I think from there it will be very handy to have a lot of 3D prints already done, so we can see where the bottlenecks are. And yeah, I think you could run a decent prototyping experiment with just 3D printed parts already. I would have done it if I had the time, but just like Paul, it's like at the back of the queue from everything we still have to do. So
Tony, can I ask, do you think we need to make a new version of the configurator video, or do we just need to amplify what you've already done?
I think amplify would be great, but even this slide and this community talk is already an amplification of it. People can reach me on Slack, so if they have any questions regarding the configurator, I will be happy to help, because I'm very proud of the program I used and I know all of the ins and outs of it. So if people have any questions while configuring a new one, they can just send me a message and I will happily oblige them to create parts.
Perfect. So I think if this is where hitting the road running with the DAO projects. You said you would work to set up a project in the DAO that then people can interact with for the Windhexe. Is that something you're intending to do with Cavitator?
Yeah, my priority is the Windhexe, because there's already some investment in there, and it's the lowest hanging fruit, I guess.
Yeah, I can tell you I'm meeting a very, very senior Japanese corporate person who's got a deep interest in the Windhexe, and I know there's people said similar things in other jurisdictions. So I think first movers on both of these technologies, when the minimum viable product's done, if you're part of the team that's working on either the Windhexe or the Cavitator, when it hits minimum viable product, you are going to be the world experts that people are going to be calling upon.
Yeah, most likely.
That's my amplifier just there. You know, you want to be part of the team that delivers this to humanity, rather than waiting for someone else. Hope to do it. These are two. One is extreme levels of excess heat. So the system that Cladov built, it had the one that put aluminosilicates in, 5% solution. It had 70 kilowatts in, and it produced 760 kilowatts of extra thermal energy. Over 3/4 of a megawatt of extra thermal energy. If you are the persons working on the team that delivers that, you're going to make a big change to humanity. You are going to be the front runners. And that's the case also with the Windhexe. It has the ability and potential to completely transform recycling, for one. And so you should want to do this for your own reasons, is what I'm suggesting.
Yeah, definitely. And all of the 3D drawings I've got, either the Windhexe or the Cavitator, I want them all posted online, free, accessible to anyone who wants to tinker around, work with it, or even do prototyping, or start a viable commercial business with it. So the only scarce, the biggest scarcity is time, basically, for me. So if other people start using the materials we got and start running with it, that would be great, because the more we all learn from it. That's basically
it's all built in Rhino at the moment, isn't it? So you can actually get a 1 month free access to Rhino as a kind of demo, fully functional demo, as far as I remember. The software itself, it is it's about €1,000 or something. I don't know, I can't remember offhand. But the configurator, you can use that for free. Am I right in saying?
Yeah, definitely. Rhino is available for free for 90 days.
All right.
So 90.
Very good.
90. So you got 3 months of tinkering around with the configurator, and after that you can still use it, but you can't save files or anything. So,
but the configurator is that a separate application, I think, isn't it?
Well, it's in a subset of Rhino. It's called Grasshopper, which is a parametric interface. You can just open it, and then you control 3D geometry in Rhino. But it's all one package, one download, one install, all good to go.
If anybody's keen to actually have a crack at this, I've got a complete 2-rotor cavitator, all the STL files tucked away, which I did a while ago on Grasshopper with Tony's help. So
awesome.
If you want some finished files, I could provide some for people who have the time and the printing ability to do it. With a stretch, they could also apply to CNC machining.
Yeah, definitely.
That's what you need. I like the sound of that.
Hi, Paul. Yes, please.
Okay, well,
if you'd like to take my email address, I'd love to see those files.
Yeah, that's fine. My email address is no secret, actually. It's just paul.steventon@gmail.com.
Okay.
So email me.
I'm just dialing up the bots now. Wonderful. Right, that's fantastic. Is anyone else wants to pitch in there? Anyone else want to make a comment on YouTube? We've got 50 people following right now. Otherwise, we'll move on to the next point. We can come back to this at the end. Okay. Do you want to move forward then, Charles? Your audio's off.
Yes, it was, Bob. Yes, it was. Sorry, I was just typing a different message at the same time. Okay. Timeline. In fact, I was just typing a message to do with the timeline. So, the timeline is something that we've all discussed, but Martin has been helping, making sure that any content put in there is, you put in a PDF, an image is created of the PDF. That image is then converted into a PDF, basically in a clean format on IPFS. Great way of making sure there's no malware, there's no naughty pictures, things like that. So we potentially have using Sterling as an interface, an opportunity for everybody to upload data, for that data to be checked, and then for that data to be visually seen in the timeline. Now, if we were going to look at this, how would we expand on this? Now, Eric's brought up decentralized knowledge graphs before. So while looking at one of Eric's proposals, I started looking at decentralized knowledge graphs. And the thing we're going to be looking at over the next couple of weeks, there's research spikes ongoing as to whether this is feasible, but we're looking to see if we can tie in the timeline and the decentralized knowledge graph together so that any data are uploaded through Martin's system, potentially through the front end build by Sterling, will also be fed into a decentralized knowledge graph, which will allow AI chats. So you'll be able to chat with the AI anytime you want to tell the AI, look, there's a barrier lead here between this and this. That will create a node within the AI's database so that the AI can always reference barrier leads. We can put tags in. We can do all sorts of stuff that you would essentially want to do with a decentralized knowledge graph. It also does RAG and things like that. So you can have a chat with it basically if we feed in another LLM. The protocol that we may use, again, this is all down to the research, will offer us the ability to create our own AI agents. I know I've been talking about agents for some time, but these are an out-the-box solution that look really good. We'll also be looking at Toon's OI, Open Index Protocol, to potentially create an index so that things can be indexed and we can make sure that we don't put duplicates or things like that into the DKG. So that's something that we're fleshing out at the moment based on research spikes. I'll go back to Eric and have a chat with him and see what he thinks about it. But, you know, we'll see where we go from there. As I say, we're just researching it and seeing what's possible. But that's what we're going to be trying to push for in the next couple of months is to try and get something where people can upload all the data that we've got from everywhere and we've got it in a format that we can actually use it somewhere. Whether it's this decentralized knowledge graph, whether it's another one, however it goes. But we need to start creating an AI for all this data and something, it needs to be fed into something so that we can all utilize it essentially. So yes, thank you Sterling, who's just had a chat with me there. We're going to try and link up this week and have a discussion with that. Alex has been doing some amazing work in the chat rooms and things like that. So we're also going to link up as well, have a little chat to see how that's going, because there may be a couple of people on the periphery of the DAO that would like to help. So, and that might be a lot of fun, really bring some communities together. And that's all down to Alex. Yeah, so as well as Alex, Martin and Sterling, well done on everything you've done, and Toon as well for bringing Open Index Protocol to chat with us as well. Okay. Now the pièce de résistance. Artifact has done some phenomenal work. We are looking for volunteers. We'll go into the video in a second. We won't do the whole thing, but we'll go into the video in a second. But a little bit of a call for action. We're looking for volunteers to test the data collection tool. Now, I know Paul's going to be potentially using it. There'll be a couple of other people potentially using it. And Henk, we need to get using it so that we can standardize data. So Artifact needs to be heavily acknowledged for the work he's been doing in his spare time. This is all down to him. Like, hats off to this guy. It's absolutely amazing the work he's done. Chris, the ops guy, took one look at it and he said, this is better than everything else on the market. So this is
amazing.
Yeah.
Can I just say, Artifact has been following the project from the very beginning. How Glabs did, that they really broke new ground with live open science. It was the first time, and it was before National Instruments could even had the tools to be able to publish live on the internet. And Henk has been following that entire process. The stuff we did on the glow sticks with Alan Goldwater in the Magic Stone lab and other variations. But I think because Artifact has had such a long history, he knows what works and what needs to be implemented. And really, he's knocked it out of the park with this. It's a fantastic gift to the community. It's a gift to scientists all over the world, I think, because it allows professional tools like LabJack to be used, but also tools that a lot of people actually use, like Arduinos. Anyway, really full hat tip. This is a sterling piece of work, and it's already a major gift from the DAO project to the community.
Artifact, are you here to make a comment, sir?
A what?
Would you like to make a comment, sir?
A comment. Well, yeah, Bob was right. I was following since the beginning, I guess, and I learned much from that, from all the hours and days of viewing, watching paint dry. So I had something in my head to work on. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant.
Congratulations again, Artifact. That's a fabulous piece of work.
Thank you.
So now we've praised the gentleman. If those who haven't seen it, we're going to put a little bit of a sneak preview on. So won't play the whole 4 minutes, but Bob's already put that on his YouTube channel. Have you put that on already, Bob?
I have, but I think it's worth playing it so it's within this, so people can follow the history, and I think it's worth doing.
Not a problem.
Since my last update, the software is now written in Python and has some more features. Let's do a quick walkthrough. First, we are on the Projects tab, and there we have to fill out some fields. State who we are, and state the sampling rate. You see the project browser with some of the latest runs I did. And if we fill out the description, the start button turns green, and we could do a run now. But first, let's see what other tabs we have. So this is the camera tab. There is a motion status indicator, some manual overrides, and a camera settings pop-up. Here you can find parameters for the camera, for recording, for NDI output, and for the motion detection. Good, let's connect the camera. The video looks a bit blurry, so I deactivate the manual focus and let the camera focus itself, and then I activate it again. Okay, let's add some overlays now. First, just a normal text. I change the text size. Apply the settings. Then I change the color to white. And add another overlay, this time a timestamp. And now I add a sensor overlay. This is one of the predefined sensors I have. And another one. Now you can see me testing the motion sensor. If a motion is detected, the status indicator gets red. Here we have the Sensors tab. In the list you can see my pre-configured sensors from the last run. And on the top are 3 buttons to connect to different devices. You can edit each sensor independent of its type. And you can add more sensors, of course. For the Arduino device type, you can choose from the list that the master Arduino is responsible of. And for the labjack type, you can choose from all ports that it has. I'm using the extended features ports.
Awesome.
Here you can find 2 source code examples for the master and for the slave. To show you the other sensors tab, I have to disconnect from Arduino so that the port is free. This feature is designed for other devices with serial interfaces. Many of those have different ways to obtain the data, different query characters, or a little menu or multiple values that we would like to have. Some values may have other words or characters in front of it, and so on. So with this sensor management, you can define little sequences of actions that are iterated through in a loop, and the published values can be assigned to virtual sensors.
Just awesome. So good.
So in this case, I get data from my Arduino in a different way. I send a command, wait for several milliseconds, read the data, parse it, and then publish the values. This is the whole sequence that is looped. You can also test it step by step. The command R is sent. Then we wait for 1.9 seconds. Then we pass the data we get. We found it and now it can get published. Okay, I connect to the Arduino. Now we have to create a virtual sensor and assign the published value to it. Here I choose my created sequence and the published value. And it is working 21.2 degrees.
Awesome.
But I remove it for now, we don't need it. Then we have the automation tab. Here users can also define sequences, but they are much more general and very powerful. Whole experiments and other things can be automated with it. At the moment, triggers can be time-based, for example, at a specific time or after X seconds or minutes. They can be sensor value-based, for example, if a certain value is reached or if a value is smaller than X. Or they can be event-based, for example, when a recording is started or when a motion is detected. Triggered actions can be commands sent to Arduino or to LabJack, camera operations or system actions like show a message. In this case, I have a sequence to take a screenshot every minute and a sequence to show a message if the sensor K-type 1 is over 30 degrees C. A more complex automation could be to take care of plants, like to refill water if the level is too low, ventilate if the humidity is too low, heat if it is too cold, play sounds if the value is too high, and so on.
So good.
Sequences can also run in a loop if the user wants to do that. At the bottom there's a little program to create a time-lapse video out of the snapshots.
Awesome.
The colored buttons on the panel were to manage and collect data, and the white buttons are to view and describe the data. So the dashboard is to view the incoming data, the status of the sequences, and to have an eye on the camera. Data is only shown here when the run has been started. Then we have the graphs tab. As we have not yet started a new run, we see the data from the previous run as a time series. There are other graph types to choose from. Below is a small box with a little description and tips for each type. Depending on the chosen type, there are some settings below to select the sensors or change other things. Here is temperature difference. Rate of change. Moving average. Fourier analysis. Histogram. A box plot. and correlation analysis. And finally, there is the Notes tab. Here, the user can put in thoughts and notes during or after a run. It is saved as HTML and provides basic HTML functionality. On the top is a header automatically inserted containing the project information. It is a template and can be changed.
So good.
There is a button to insert a screenshot of the graph from the graph's top, as it is looking at the moment. It can be inserted and changed in size. There's another button to insert a screenshot from the camera. But this is still the document for the old run. Let's start a new run now. New data is coming in, as we can see on the dashboard. We can also see that the automation sequences are now active. Thank you for your attention.
Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely legendary. So, when can we have a download?
I don't know if I have time this weekend.
Okay.
But probably the next one.
Okay, well, until the DAO is fully up, let's host it on a dedicated page on the historical site at quantumheat.org and amplify it. It would be great to have people out there using this. But wow, you have knocked it out of the park. I can see with your graph designs and the moving averages and stuff, you've actually embedded into that learning of things that we've done in the past that people have had to do the work, and it's just you've literally condensed so much learning over the last more than 1 decade and implemented, made it easy for people to just get on with actually doing the science rather than fiddling about with those aspects of analysis so that other people can make faster judgments. Really, we're not worthy. That is diligent and fantastic work.
Not true.
Come on. But you're so self-deprecating.
There's still some bugs, many of which I know, but I need some more time.
Well, of course, you get that out into the field, people will find all sorts of bugs. But what I loved about what you've done is that you've made those general configurable hooks, because often what we had is we wanted to use a tool, and you're obviously aware of this, and you could look in the manual and it would have these things, but how the hell did you plug that into the tool? But you've covered that ground. So, you are the perfect man to have done this, and you did the work. And so just, it almost brings me to tears, mate. Really awesome work.
Artifact, if I could ask you something on a practical point. This is going to need some pretty good version control and some very good archiving to make sure that this is not lost for any reason. How are you going to handle that?
Well, I will share the whole source. We will upload it. And there are tools also for version control.
Okay, that's great. Thank you very much.
Artifact, just trust me, he knows this space. He knows.
I just wanted to hear it. Thank
you. He's definitely the right guy with the right history to do this, and you can rest assured. I have every faith that that's going to be covered, but the right question also this time. So thank you very much.
Awesome, brilliant. Artifact, it's amazing what you've done. Like for someone who's messed around with like, the Optrus cameras that Bob plays with and things like that, and the interfaces that you've got to use, and the crummy things you have to download to move things around, and then making reports is an absolute nightmare. So yeah, like that's the second time I've watched your video all the way through, and like my jaws, I was noticing new things that obviously I was thinking about other things the last time I watched it. Like you've covered so much. So yeah. Well done, man. Thank you so much for everything you've done.
Thank you.
My last point.
Can I ask,
sorry,
do you have an ability, or have you considered an ability to stream to a web resource, and then have a viewer for people to go forward and backward through the data? Because that was something that was so powerful in the LabJack software. Is that something that's on your horizon?
Well, the streaming could be done via NDI streaming.
Yeah.
So I have to test it, but it's there. And the going backward and forward, what exactly do you mean?
Well, if you remember, so not the LabJack, but the original HugNet, where you could have the data streaming and people could look through, say, a week's worth of experiment and go back and see when the events occurred, because many of the most important findings that were found in those early experiments were done by third parties when we were all asleep. they were looking through the data and said, "Oh, this happened and then that happened." So
you can click on disable live update, and you can zoom and go where you want in the data.
Awesome.
So that's not a problem, and you can load different runs again to see the data.
Fantastic, legend, respect.
So the last thing I need to do is thank everyone. So apart from thanking Artifact again, thank you, Artifact. Like, I'm looking forward to messing around with some sensors now. We need to thank Nesta and Joeen for all their development work that they've been doing.
Thank you, Nesta. Joeen.
Mark for doing all his supervision in between all of his day job while doing it at 10 o'clock at night from the far side of the world. Martin for helping whenever he can with our security concerns and making sure that we don't make any glaring mistakes that'll hurt us further on down the line. Toon with his insane amount of due diligence that he's been doing for our project proposals. Like it's been absolutely amazing. Alex for putting everything together, like making sure we can talk to lots of people, introductions, things like that. It's on the stuff that we'll be doing in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be astounding. We've got Kat, our new member of the media team, Felix, who will be running around Europe and the world for us, making sure that we know what's going on with all the projects. We've got Hank, who's like smashing it out the park and has potentially got a device with a COP of 3 or something like that. So we'll see if that works. Looks interesting. And finally, I believe for this month's thank yous is Contract Level, our smart contract developer, who in 1 month grabbed everything that we need, got it ready for audit, and got it shipped in 1 month. Like, unbelievable stuff. So, and thank you, Bob, for hosting all of this as well. So I do appreciate it. Yeah, that's me done. Thank you very much. I do appreciate everybody's time. But yeah, that's been a really good presentation. I've really enjoyed that one myself.
Yeah, it's really well done, Charles, and a big round of applause to you, mate, for continuing to be relentless.
Yep.
So does anyone have any questions both on YouTube or in the room, or comments?
I have an anecdote which might be of interest. I traditionally every year raise 200 tomato plants, and every year they take 4 days to germinate in my particular indoor lit environment, and about 1/4 of them don't survive hardening out and transplanting. Well, I had my first shot at doing magic water this year. I produced a Schomburger demagnetizer and tried that. Well, the seeds germinated in 2 days. They shot up very quickly, and I've got a 0 loss rate in terms of transplanting.
Wow.
And that's just purely on 200 plants in my back garden. You know, it was really noticeable. I just thought I would share that we're not actually on a crazy outing. There's something real here.
Yeah, that's huge. Thank you very much for reporting it. I mean, that right there is a massive reduction in the waste of time
it's just an anecdote for now because I didn't really expect much from it. But for what it's worth,
it's
there it
kind
is.
of in line with a lot of what people report in seed germination and hardiness. So, yeah, like you say, it's just an anecdote. But how long have you been doing this process? Like,
About 5 or 6 years.
well, there we go. Right. So,
And this is unique, this
Right.
particular year.
wow, wonderful. Thank you. Anyone else would like to comment there?
I wanted to see if Ryan was ready to discuss a charge cluster isolation and acceleration technology. Yeah, he is.
Yes, indeed.
Fire away, Ryan.
Well, hi, Bob. It's nice to see you again.
It is nice to see you. Yes, hopefully I'll see you later in the year.
Thanks, Alex, for inviting me here. I just thought I'd give a brief introduction. I'm a mechanical draftsman, mechanical designer, and machinist. I have 20 years in the trade, and I've been interested in, let's call it, in the borderlands of engineering and science for quite a while now. Early on in my early to mid 20s, I had the good fortune of being in contact with and being a friend of a gentleman by the name of Mark Tomian, who was the inventor of the electrodynamic field generator and the author of this book, Star Drive Engineering, which I'll post a link to in the chat because it's now available on the Internet Archive. More recently, back in December, I met Bob along with several other very interesting people at Carmen Miller's house. I've been involved with replicating Bill Muller's dynamo, and actually just recently I have a mini version of his dynamo that I actually have running on 2 inputs so far. And my colleague, Wayne Ohala, who has a large one of the original machines, is getting very good, very encouraging results with it. That is getting to the point where it appears that it can't be 99%. He's got a bank of lights he's running, and anyway, I don't want to speak for him, but the results are very encouraging with that. Also, since December, when I ran into Bob, my interests in the work of Ken Shoulders in particular have been stoked again. So I've got to thank you for that, Bob. And I've managed to do a series of design studies for a variety of methods to produce beams of charge clusters. And I should preface this also by saying that last year I worked at Berkeley Lab, and I actually worked on ALSU, which is the coming upgrade to the Advanced Light Source synchrotron on site at Berkeley Lab. It's a 3 GeV 40 beamline synchrotron that's going to be going up to a little above 4 GeV with the upgrade. My role, simple as it was that I drew a series of cables for the machine protection system. So this is a system of sensors that watches the parameters of the machine and trips an alarm if necessary. So I would just like to share here for a moment.
Yeah, fire away.
Okay, so we're in SolidWorks here. This is my main tool. This is a concept for what I call a centripetron, and that's in deference to Ernest Lawrence's original cyclotron that he called his electron merry-go-round. I would call this my electron coin bank. It's a cyclotron in reverse, essentially. There are no Ds, so there's no accelerating electric field structure. but there is a potential well. And what you don't see here is a rather stout magnet assembly. But essentially, this this concept is to try to centripetally coalesce relativistically moving electrons in order to try to form rings. And of course, you have a transformation from planar motion to an axial motion, because the emitters here, unlike with a cyclotron where you have one emitter in the center and the particles are being spiraled out, here you have a variety of emitters along the edge, and the particles are being not accelerated, but you have a transformation from linear motion to circular motion and then to tangential motion. So that's one design approach. The next is a point source emitter array. And essentially what you see here is a series of copper rings with tungsten or copper tungsten points. And those points are coated in lanthanum hexaboride, which is the best non-radioactive thermionic emitter. And then lastly, just give me a moment here. This is, I would say, the most complete of my design studies so far. On the outside, you see, for brevity, I only drew half of it because these things are actually pretty difficult to model. This on the outside is 1/2 of a canted cosine theta magnet array. With two of these, where their cant angles are opposed to each other, you get a near perfect cancellation of the radial fields, but in addition of the axial fields along a preferred direction. So inside that, we would have a beam tube, and inside that beam tube sits an annular ring charge cluster emitter array. Now, one of the interesting things about this approach is that because it's annular, you can put this inside a what's it called? A laser wake field accelerator. In other words, you can use a bootstrapping beam of whatever type you like, electrons, ions, or photons, in addition to the intense field enhanced emission that you would get from these edges right next to dielectric barriers. So my reasoning for this series of design studies is that I figured that we need to give the accelerator people something to chew on. And if you start with an essentially a world first type of approach to making high density charge clusters and making them into a beam, then what you have the possibility of doing is making a synchrotron with light intensity on the beam lines that would be many orders of magnitude higher than is currently accessible.
Frightening.
And the reason for that is because in, let's say, the beam space of a standard synchrotron beam, you would be lucky to fit in a small, relatively small space, let's say 10 to the 8th to 10 to the 9th electrons. But if you're forming charge clusters and each one of them has up to that or many times that, even up to, say, 10 to the 20, 10 to the 22, you have the capability of fitting, well, that much, much higher level of electrons into the same beam space. And then if you bend that, you're going to get extremely intense cones of light. So what I see from this, what I saw from Richard Feynman's letter to Ken Shoulders, was that there is a path here to create a whole new type of electron accelerator that will certainly have some revolutionary applications, particularly when you get it into the hands of the accelerator physicists.
Could I just ask you what the hell happens if it gets into the hands of the military? Looks like a death ray.
Personally, I'm not worried about the dual use potential because I think that the people who promulgate that idea, the ones who really push that idea of, oh, what would happen if some bad actor got their hands on this? Well, that's coming from the blue beam people who are the ones who are guiding the weaponized technology,
Absolutely.
and they're gaslighting the public.
Yeah. Let me tell you that I would see it more as a thing for carving large chunks out of mountains rather easily.
That's one potential thing it could be used for.
Yes.
Could even build a pyramid with one, couldn't you?
So also, I
Slice
just
and
thought I
dice
would
one.
mention that the Proton 21 lab work was also very interesting to me, and Bob turned me on to that as well. So thank you for that, Bob.
Did you see that? Did you actually get the book because someone actually posted a free download on?
I did. David Chester.
Yes.
Posted a copy of the book.
Did you see the writing
so I
on
have the
page
whole thing now.
150? Yeah. So basically, on page 150, it really has the key to, in my view, what I'm seeing going on in these processes. That it forms an electron quark gluon plasma, so actually after my presentation on Sunday, my live stream went out, and the one during the week for the 2 Brno seminars, Jan Rack phoned me up. So Jan is doing the Henkurian Vega replication. He's also one of the hosts of the Alchemy of Prague conference this year. He kept phoning me through the day, and I couldn't take his call. And in the evening, I picked up, and so I did a further explanation of my hypothesis. And at the end of it, he goes, because he trained at Dubna during the Soviet period. He then worked at Los Alamos. He then worked at Brookhaven National Laboratory, and then he worked at CERN, and then he went and worked in Finland with Eugene Pokletnov. And when he saw my presentation this week, he was just, anyway, I was talking about the quark gluon plasma, and he just then said, do you know what I was doing the whole time I was at CERN? I said, I have no idea. Actually, I didn't know much about him. And he says, I was just working on quark gluon plasma, which we thought was an ideal gas initially, but it turns out it's a superfluid. And when he said that, and that's the most important thing he said to me the whole time I've known him, which hasn't been very long, given that it's a superfluid and you are forming this from the exotic vacuum object. So to tie everything you've said together, Ken Shoulders said in 2011 that, 2011, 2 years before he died, that what SV Adamenko was doing before the America removed all that equipment from Ukraine, and then it's now classified, was producing a quark soup, and a quark soup effectively is a quark gluon plasma. And this is what I'd come to the conclusion could only explain what I've observed in these things. Now, if you can make a magnetohydrodynamic structure out of electrons, and we believe that that is what it is, it isn't. Actually, Ken is saying that an EVO is at its core when it's spun up. It's a quark gluon plasma, but specifically electron quark gluon plasma. It doesn't take a millimeter to produce the required magnetic fields to produce color disconfinement of baryons. It only needs 0.632 nanometers, which is well inside the small 1 micron size of the basic exotic vacuum object. And at that state, when you create a magnetohydrodynamic structure from the quark gluon plasma, electron quark gluon plasma, it's a much stronger field in a much tighter space, much tighter space. And because it's a superfluid, it self-sustains. And because the magnetic monopole does not collapse, as John Kramer said in 1983, it can disassemble matter down to more quark gluon plasma. And this is why, in my view, it explains Bogdanovich's long-lived glowing plasmoids on metal. It explains how Ken Shoulders could say these things live in metals indefinitely because they've got free electrons and a few atoms they can play with. It explains how John Hutchison's materials transmuted over time. It explains how the military free electron laser treatment of aluminium was showing these structures glowing 2 months later. It also explains how Lion's reactor could reactivate the structures after 9 months by heating it to 900 degrees. And it also explains how Baranov and Zatalepin could reactivate the structures in metal after 18 months. So go and have a look at page 150. Essentially, it says electron quark gluon plasma. It produces this is produced by extreme magnetic field produced in the structure, and then it says when that structure fails, the matter comes out as in basically entirely new atoms, unrelated to the matter that goes in, and because of the nature of the process, you don't get any radioactive elements. Everything's explained.
I sure will. Thank you.
Yeah.
By the way, I just
it's
thought
not
I'd
just
mention
electrons.
that,
it's not just electrons.
With Wakefield accelerators nowadays, like for example, the Bella accelerator at Berkeley Lab, they're getting 10 giga electron volts in 1 meter.
Right. Yeah.
It's absolutely extraordinary how powerful Wakefield acceleration is. So I think that combining a Wakefield accelerator and a high density charge cluster emitter could be
Yeah,
very
absolutely right.
interesting
If you go
idea.
and look at the Stardust videos I took of probably one of the world's ball lightning experts back in October 2016. So look for videos of Stardust on the MFMP's YouTube channel. He talks a lot about Wakefield acceleration and how this allows for the production of very, very small accelerators. He's only talking about it, but it was back in 2016, so we're nearly 9 years on from that. But would you like to explain to people what's happening on Wakefield and how essentially it's kind of talking about this kind of fluid flow thing that allows for this acceleration? Do you want to give a little description of that? Ryan? Do you want to explain what you mean by Wakefield? Yes.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So you have a gas, and you fire an extremely intense pulse of a laser through that gas. You can pre-ionize it, and this method of accelerating an electron beam. So you have inputs of a laser beam and an electron beam, and they're both interacting with a plasma that they're creating by traveling through it. And essentially what happens is that the addition of the laser pulse causes a form of ionization that acts like an accelerating wake. It compresses the pulse essentially. So it allows you to get to extremely high electron voltages in extremely short spaces. By comparison, the entire ALS system, which is 600 feet in diameter, creates a 3G EV electron beam, whereas the Bella system, whose interaction zone is only on the order of a meter long, is up around 10 GeV. So I think there's a bit of a reckoning, if you will, happening with accelerator, the approach to building accelerators, because of this relatively new realization that Wakefield acceleration is so much of a better and more efficient method to access those, say,
what you've actually
GeV and above
described there,
energies.
what you've actually described there is part of the way EVOs can do their magic. So if you look at that 2021 paper where they fired a high intensity, very short duration beam into a nonlinear plasma, it produced this vortex toroid soliton with the monopod with a phase singularity, and it's a magnetohydrodynamic structure which sucks the stuff behind it, plus it removes the resistance in front, and it literally pulls stuff behind it. It is actually creating EVOs, what you've described. Now, the other thing, I don't know if you saw the paper on which I worked in the Russian Ball Lightning Conference, but essentially they created EVOs and they were able to move them using a light as a laser through a glass fiber. And what they found in Russia is even EVOs that are static electricity in the natural environment can be moved by a laser. So this is being moved by light. And so you've got two factors that you've described. You've got a laser which is actually creating the EVOs, and then it can be moved by the traveling wave beam of the light itself, and it pulls matter behind it. And it removes the inertia, and it's almost self-accelerating if you're energizing it. So yeah, I don't know how long it would take to reach those Soviet levels of 70 gigaelectron volts in the Protvinov accelerator, which is not the biggest in the world by today's standards, but it was 70 gigaelectron volts, and it was able to establish that neutrinos were an absolute real thing. These are not cold neutrinos, but normal neutrinos. What you've just described there with 10 gigaelectron volts in how big a device?
So the interaction zone is only a meter long. So you're accelerating an e-beam to from the emission temperature, which is a couple of electron volts, to 10 giga electron volts, 10 billion electron volts in the space of a meter. It's absolutely incredible. Well, there is no synchrotron that can match that.
Okay, so whoa, Ryan, you know what? You only need a free electron laser to create long-lived quark-gluon plasma, it would appear. In fact, you only need 2000 volts with a 200 volt bias going through water vapor of a fast water jet, because that's what they did in Bogdanovich's work at Moscow Nuclear Physics Institute.
Yeah, I mean, this is in the back of my mind for the EVH2O, Bob. We discussed, didn't we? Laser transmitter.
I'd like to read more about that.
Yeah, FDMs,
Yeah, so if we can load up stuff and establish its biological uses rather than problems, and find efficient ways, the cavitation process itself does this. And so do we need to dial it up to 24, way beyond 11? Just because you can, do you need to?
Yeah.
Well, actually, one of the things I wanted to mention just briefly is that making charge cluster beam emitters is very important, not only for going up in power, but also going for down in power, and being able to accurately control your emissions so that you can completely characterize it.
Yeah. I mean,
this is where it comes in biology. Biology is going to require that level of sophistication. I see this as passing energy from FTMs into living tissue using lasers. And that would be a long-term goal, but certainly something that sounds more and more feasible. And what you've said today has actually made it sound even more feasible.
Yeah, very exciting. Is there anything else you wanted to add, Ryan?
Sure. I just thought I'd mention that I pasted a link to Mark Tomyan's book, Star Drive Engineering. And you can also find his patent if you like. And then I also posted a PDF, which is my first draft of what I'm calling the Reclaim Century Act. And it's a bill that's designed to severely restrict many of the articles of the Invention Secrecy Act.
Awesome.
Cheers.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you,
You are
Bob.
definitely a warrior.
Thank you, Ryan.
Excellent.
Ryan, I have just put the English version of formation, basically the paper that you want to look at with firing
thank you.
stuff
Thank you,
through
sir.
lasers. Yeah, no problem. It's formation of a solid phase when carbon dioxide is irradiated. It's an ODT. I literally took that, the Russian paper, put it through Grok. So it hasn't got any imagery in there, I don't believe. But that will be able to help you find it, I think.
Awesome. Thank you. I also use LibreOffice, so that format's not a problem.
Fantastic. Fantastic. No problem at all. Excellent.
Awesome. Thank you for that really exciting contribution, Ryan.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Cheers. Anyone else want to pitch in? Any questions? Did anyone pick up any questions on YouTube? We've got a steady growing following there.
Bernie, Crypto Alchemist, would like an invite to any future events if that's possible.
Okay, sure.
If anybody has any questions in the YouTube, please fire them away and I'll ask them. But it looks
okay. I'll just throw something in to give some pause for that. Paul Harris built within 2 days and tested the Avramenko plug that I suggested from the paper from the Russian Ball Lightning Conference, and it is absolutely awesome. It's very simple, but he's recording over nearly 150 volts, where a normal radiometer or other devices record absolutely nothing from his Therify. And from his initial testing on the Griffin Brock tube, the Desmotron, he's recording in the beam sort of like 35, 40, 50 volts, something like that order. There's tests to be done inside a Faraday cage, but if this is a recording voltage inside a Faraday cage, this verifies that it is able to detect torsion fields in the ether, and this means that we don't necessarily need a Josephson junction or squid or something like that to be able to detect the presence of toroidal moments. This is absolutely groundbreaking. It means we can have a new feedback system that Artifact can build into experiments so that we can detect when torsion fields are being produced by resonant production, whether it's in a water vortex system, whether it's in a hydrodynamic based generator, which is what they used it for. So they actually used had an op-amp to magnify the weak signal coming from the vortexes in a cavitation heat producing reactor. So I'm going to try and get Paul to meet with Binja and Huang and try and instrument the cavitation jet reactors that they've got, such that they can actually have a new type of instrument feedback that is detecting the actual process going on in the ether, that's allowing for the excess heat to be manifested through the process that's going on. So it's early stages, but I'm going to share some videos in the coming days, and it does look like it says what they said, what they claimed, and it's so cheap. It's basically 2 diodes, a capacitor, a piece of breadboard, and a coil, which winds up and winds down on itself. He said it takes about 20 minutes to make one, and you can start detecting the fields using a normal voltmeter.
That's my kind of gadget, Bob. Fabulous.
It's totally transformational to understanding ether vortex flows. It's a step change in being able to monitor what's going on. Also, it's a step change in because there's all kinds of people working with plasmas and doing some very interesting experiments, but they may not realize that they are manipulating the environment in which they, as biology, are existing, and biology is actually using these fields. And it will help us to understand, oh, this person got stick. Yes, they were exposed to this level of ether vortex field, which you cannot detect with a normal electromagnetic field triple way meter.
Well, there you go. There's a whole new world of medicine there.
Absolutely. Like I say, we were on a call and it was like, where do we, I'll probably publish the call. Your mind boggles with the applications of this technology, and it's just so simple. It's just ridiculously simple. Okay, was there any questions? If not, then we call it a night and I can go and pack.
Go and pack, Bob. Give everyone our best in Japan. We hope you have a wonderfully safe trip and that you enjoy yourself, and give that guy from Sony hell.
The day I land, I'll be recovering, and then the following morning I'm meeting the former director of Sony America, and then we are going together, having had a bit of an explainer. We're going to go to Amaza's lab, and we're going to try and replicate the Yule-Brown remediation of nuclear material.
Of course. What else would you do in a few days? I mean, gosh, that sounds like a nice Friday.
Nice Friday. Anyway, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So you've got to give it a go, right? The only material I have, I'm not saying, or access to, rather, should I say?
Indeed. So yeah, well, good luck flying with it and getting it there. So,
no, I'm not flying with it, of course.
Oh, right. Okay.
Naturally.
Of course. Naturally. Right. Anyway, sorry. Yeah. Right. Fantastic. Right,
Bernard wants to pop in. Did you want to say something, Bernard? He's joining right now. He's trying to join. Bernie, you've just made it in. Do you want to say anything? And I think Alex wants to come up if you don't.
I'll interject quickly. Yesterday, I had a chat with the Borderlands Science and Research Foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And for those who haven't heard of them, they were actually founded in 1945. Some people have stumbled upon the videos of Eric Dollard, John Bedini, Peter Lindemann, and Tom Brown presenting on their science research. They're still around to this day, and I found out that they're very much interested in collaborating with us, especially with researchers working on these fringe sciences on the borderlands. And some of our researchers are going to be eligible to become research associates with a BSRA title, if anybody's interested in that sort of thing. But I just thought that was some really good news, more collaboration for all of us.
Wonderful, because they've published some seminal works over the years, and I remember reading quite a few bits of things that they put out. Bernie, did you want to say something, because we're just about to close down?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
One big thing I need to talk to you about, Bob, is myself and Jeremiah Pop, we successfully transmutated hydrogen into helium through one white plasma arc reaction. And then a second process we did was transmutating the aluminum into iron sphericals through acoustic energy inputs only. And that we were hoping that with you we could co-publish a paper on this and demonstrate the replication of it in the second generation iterament of the processes. And
wonderful.
You are going to Tesla Tech this year?
I will be at Tesla Tech in August.
Perfect. As will I be.
Yeah, awesome.
And Jeremiah will also be there. And there's a whole bunch more, so I will talk to you.
Yeah, I think I'm speaking after or before Maury B. King, which is quite an
honor. My God, Maury B. King's there. That's even more amazing. As is Gerald Polak.
Yeah, and lots of people I want to meet are going to be there. It's going to be freaking awesome. If you can't make it to the Alchemy of Prague in September and you're in New Mexico, Albuquerque, then come there. I will be in North Carolina at the Cosmic Summit. I'll be speaking alongside. We're doing a classroom day with Ashton Forbes. We're going to be sticking just to the energy side of it. He's going to bring some demonstrations along. I'm going to bring some demonstrations along. You can have one-on-one sessions with us at all of these different venues. So yeah, it's my code at Cosmic Summit is Tesla. I don't have one for the Tesla conference, which is a bit bizarre, but anyway.
Yes, we'll get on that right away.
Awesome.
I have to just give you a quick update that Steve is giving me a second boardroom at Tesla Tech to conduct additional interviews. I'm going to set up panels, and then we're also allowed to live stream that aspect, so we can live stream it to all the channels. And we can, I'm aiming to also set up some guest special remote presenters for that live stream, while the private in-person in the other room presentation's going. It'll be
that is awesome. Can I step back to the experiments? How did you determine the helium? We're using spectrometry or what?
So we have yet to. We didn't get it tested. We were repeating another person's test, so that's why we'd like to set it something up with you, and then be able to capture the products and then get it actually analyzed and confirmed with it.
I do know my friend and dear colleague Alan Goldwater is down in California watching this on the YouTube stream, and he has the Sirius 2 quadrupole mass spectrometer. So if the test is easy to replicate, if he's willing to do that or willing to set some time, I'm hoping to go to him after the Tesla Tech, so that might be the right time to replicate that with a gas spectrometer on hand. You can also use an ionization tube, or you can just ionize the gas that you produce and have a spectrometer. If you haven't got that, then we have one. It's not brilliant, but it should be able to see the lines maybe from that. Of course, if you produce a load of gas that doesn't ignite when you started only with hydrogen, then you've got a reasonable chance of it being not hydrogen. At least.
So
could be something else.
I also have a whole new presentation that I have to put together and do with you, that I've figured out with Jeremiah from the electrochemical results of my electrolysis and the corresponding alkaline and acidic reactions that come out of it, and how that creates specific nuclear spin polarization of certain aspects of the elements, as well as the charge differential of the different particles and elements coming out of it, as well as a new insight to oxides and hydrides, to the nano or the monoatomic pure I guess plasma or quantum state of the matter that also comes off, and how the separating of the three with the neutral monoatomic in the center, and then creating the insulators between each, thus the I guess it'd be a triple or not double dielectric, but either way, the red hydride on one side, that is your electric charge and energy field, and then on the opposite side, the blue oxygen magnetic negative energy and aspects into it. It's quite revolutionary, just in the very small amounts of energy or electrical energy input to the level of bond breaking and forming of the different parts, and that the photon particle into the electrons, into being able to manipulate the actual nuclear mass of the reactions in what you're creating and doing.
Wonderful. Well, I think we're going to have some fairly interesting and lengthy chats in New Mexico.
Appreciate you all and all of your work.
Thank you very much. So Bernie's got the last word. Anyone else want to have the last word? Otherwise, I'm going to duck out.
Word.
That was the last word. Word.